The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 105, The Ending. Jing Shao was stunned and became speechless for a long time. The two imperial edicts were completely contradicting each other. His imperial father was trying to tell him that loyalty would lead to eternal glory while greed would lead to irreparable doom. Your mother gave you the name Shao in the hope that you will be like the phoenix in the ancient song Xiao Shao and bring blessings and prosperity into the realm. Emperor Hongzheng sighed, I have watched you grow from a little boy into an invincible prince. How can Zhen be unhappy as a father? It's just that Zhen is an emperor first and foremost, and have to prioritize the empire above all else. Although Zhen is the emperor, Zhen can't do everything as Zhen pleases. It was this imperial father's hope that as brothers, you can protect each other and not disregards the effort that your mother had painstakingly given to raise the both of you. Imperial father. Jing Shao raised his head as his eyes became a little red. He had never heard his father praise him like this before. This was the first time he heard him said these words in his 2 lifetimes. It's a fact that the human heart is never satisfied and the root cause of that is simply greed. Zhen have been feeling dazed in these past few days and seemed to have heard the voice of the Grand Ancestor. Last night, Zhen woke up and reread the booklet he had left behind. Zhen realized that I had violated the Grand Ancestor's wishes. Emperor Hongzheng sighed again as he took out a yellowed pamphlet from under the pillow and handed it over to Jing Chen. His voice was now a lot softer than before and his breathing sounded slightly labored. The matter of Weinan should be handled as per the Grand Ancestor's wishes and cannot be enforced. Jing Chen accepted the booklet and remained silent. The Grand Ancestor's booklet was kept by successive emperors of the current dynasty. The meaning behind the gesture of his imperial father giving this to him was self-explanatory. Emperor Hongzheng waved his hand and the Minister of Appointments opened the 3rd edict, and this time he could not read it as smoothly as before. He paused at every word and read them very cautiously. Prince Rui Jingchen is wise and benevolent. He obeys the will of the heavens and understands the people's hearts and minds. He shall inherit this great authority and ascend the throne as the new emperor. Jingchen silently accepted the imperial edict and kowtowed 3 times to Emperor Hongzheng respectfully. Zhen is entrusting the empire and his people to you. You should use the Grand Ancestor writings as your guideline. Work diligently and love your people, and always reflect on yourself from time to time. Emperor Hongzheng's voice became weaker and weaker as he held Jing Chen's hand in his palm. Jing Shao is your dear brother. If he ever makes a big mistake in the future, please remember the brotherly love he demonstrated towards you today. This son hears and obey. This time, even Jing Chen's eyes couldn't help but redden as well. Father. Jing Shao couldn't bear it any longer and walked over to the bedside. There was no father in the world who didn't have paternal love for his children, but only now did Jing Shao finally felt that his father indeed loved him. Then why was it that in the previous life, his imperial father did not tolerate his actions nor gave him a way out? Take good care of the foundation that our ancestors have laid down. Your mother and I will look after the both of you. Emperor Hongzheng's voice gradually became less formal as if he was thinking of the gentle and dignified Empress Yuan, and the corners of his lips were gradually lifted into a hint of a smile. In the 16th year of Hongzheng era, Emperor Hongzheng died of illness in the imperial palace at the age of 48. Father. Jing Shao tugged at the corner of his quilt and couldn't stop crying. The emperor was dead and his father was gone. Even if he tried his best, he would not be able to change this fate. Jing Chen pressed his lips tightly as tears silently fell from his reddened eyes. Your Majesty, please don't make yourself ill from crying. And Xian Gonggong and the Minister of Appointments hurriedly turned to help Jing Chen, and they have already started addressing him as Your Majesty. Xiao Yuan helped Jing Shao up and handed him a brocade handkerchief. Your Highness, please accept my deepest condolences, but there are still many things that are waiting for us to do. Jing Shao wiped his face with the handkerchief. He then had the servants make himself and his brother presentable before taking the Shangfang sword that was handed over to him. He then asked, who was the one who administered this poison? The Minister of Appointment replied, the late emperor was seriously ill, so we didn't get the chance to investigate this matter properly. Jing Shao glanced at him and was about to say something, but Jing Chen stopped him and ordered, Ancien, go and call all the princes to come over. Yes, Your Majesty. Ancien bowed in deference and turned around to arrange matters. Jing Shao, quickly go and dispatch the imperial army. With the sudden passing of imperial father, trouble may arise. Jing Chen arranged everyone's responsibilities in a concise manner. Yes, Your Majesty. Jing Shao responded, clenching the sword in his hand. As soon as he reached the door, Ancien came stumbling back. Your Majesty, it's not good. The imperial guards suddenly surrounded the imperial palace. Ancien Gong was very panicked. Originally, the late emperor dispatched the imperial guards around the imperial palace to prevent any prince from forcing themselves inside the palace, but if it were the imperial guards themselves who were revolting, it would be impossible for them to escape. When Jing Shao heard this, he walked out without asking any questions. Under the jade steps, the imperial guards marched in unison and were approaching the main hall quickly. The Mo Yun's 18 retreated to the jade steps. The leader of the imperial guards was not there, and they were being led by the deputy commander of the imperial guards, Lin Gang. Imperial Father has ordered that all the imperial guards within the palace and the imperial army shall temporarily be under my jurisdiction. Jing Shao looked at the unmoved imperial guards with cold eyes and took out an arrow-shaped token of authority. All of you shall quickly fall in line and guard the palace gates. Idlers and bystanders shall not be granted entry. Don't listen to his nonsense. A man drove his horse slowly out of the crowd. It was the fourth Prince Jingyu. Prince Rui and Prince Cheng are plotting to usurp the throne. Whoever kills Prince Cheng and Prince Rui will be rewarded heavily. *******. Meanwhile, Mu Hanzhong led the left and right protectorate generals towards the eastern suburbs all the way to the deserted forest. Renfeng was directing the troops who were currently training. When he saw them, he immediately stepped forward to salute. Renfeng originally recruited martial arts people from the Jianghu, but Jing Shao also tasked him to recruit from other places outside of the capital, and now, he had almost recruited enough numbers for Prince Cheng's private army. This personal army was the very one that was currently under his command. Here with me is His Highness' token of authority. Prepare the entire army to mobilize at my command. Mu Hanzhong presented the commander's tally that was handed to him by Jing Shao. This subordinate hears and obeys. Renfeng naturally recognized the prince consort and began to organize his troops without hesitation. The horses were led out from the depths of the dense forest. The cavalry led the horses and the infantry donned on their armors. Everything was done in an orderly and efficient manner, making them comparable to Jing Shao elite imperial army. His Highness is truly capable to be able to train these Rouge soldiers to this level. The Right Protectorate General praised repeatedly. Renfeng assembled his troop and came forward to reporting to the Lord Marquis, all 3,723 troops trained in this barren forest have been assembled. How many cavalries do we have? Mu Hanzhong assigned someone to stand guard on the lookout tower and keep an eye on the direction of the capital at all times. He didn't dismount from his horse, signifying his preparedness to go to the battle at any time. 1,000 cavalry, 500 archers, and the rest are infantry. Renfeng replied. Mu Hanzhong nodded. He took a sip of the water from the water bag that was handed to him by the Right Protectorate General and waited quietly for news from Jing Shao. The sky gradually darkened. However, when the sun was about to set in the west, the soldiers on the watchtower suddenly shouted, "Lord Marquis, there is a red firework rising into the sky from the direction of the imperial capital. Move out." Mu Hanzhong tightened his grip on the reins and ordered loudly, "The cavalry shall take the lead." Originally he had arranged this only as a precaution, thinking that even if Emperor Hongzheng passed on, there would something already set up and there was little chance that this private army would be deployed. After all, This strategy could only be used once, since if this became exposed, it could not be used again. Moreover, if they didn't utilize this properly, it would only bring trouble to them. But now it seems that something must have happened in the imperial palace that Jing Shao cannot handle. Mu Hanzhong was very anxious as he prayed that he would make it in time and hoped that Jing Shao would be able to hold on. Jing Shao protected his brother behind him as the Moyans 18 formed a protective circle around the two of them. The imperial guards in the palace were fighting with the rebellious imperial guards. Jing Shao had no idea that the fourth prince Jing Yu had secretly taken control of majority of the imperial guards and used them to rebel. The situation in front of him was so critical that Jing Shao had no choice but to light the fireworks in his hand. There were many imperial guards in the palace, but they were outnumbered by the rebellious imperial guards. Seeing that the number of their allied imperial guards were shrinking, the Moyans 18 wondered if they would be able to kill all of them. Suddenly a dozen rebellious imperial guards holding iron shields attacked directly in the direction of the Moyans 18, knocking away the person at the front. Immediately, a spear came out of the gap and stabbed towards the two brothers. Jing Shao cut off the tip of that spear with one slash of his sword, then he turned around and kicked the shield, knocking the man holding the shield down. The Moyans 18 immediately followed up with slashes from their sword. Close up the gaps in the circle and protect His Majesty. Jing Shao spoke using qi to make his voice reverberate, and the surrounding allied imperial guards immediately moved closer. Right now, they were vastly outnumbered. No matter how high the martial arts skills of the Moyans 18, they still would not be able to withstand against thousands of troops. The only solution for now was to minimize the casualties of their side, protect his brother and drag the fight until his private army could rush in for reinforcements. Seeing that it was easy for the soldiers with shields to approach, the fourth prince ordered the shield holders to go forward and force Jing Shao and others into a corner. The two brothers stood back to back, each holding a long sword. They watched the circle of guards shrinking, and the plain clothes that Jing Shao had just changed into were already stained with blood. Take a rest for a while. Jing Chen patted his brother's shoulder. He gathered all the remaining imperial guards together when they finally got a moment of respite. Jing Shao wiped his face and said, "I'm fine." Having the imperial guards stood in a circle formation allowed them to confront the enemies in all directions and at the same time tighten their defense so that no one would be able to slip in. No matter how many troops the rebellious imperial guards had, they could only charge in batches, resulting in less casualties on the other side. Even so, the number of protecting imperial guards continued to decrease. Attack! Suddenly, the sound of fighting came from behind the rebellious imperial guards. Jing Chen, who was situated in a higher area, could see clearly that there were thousands of cavalry charging in. This cavalry was wearing inconspicuous grey clothes, but their horses were strong and they were well armed. They charged into the rebellious imperial guards in a pointed cone shape. Who dares? The fourth prince was horrified. The imperial capital was clearly under his control, so how could there be an army rushing in? He had made sure that the southern gate was sealed so that Jing Shao's imperial army would not be able to come in no matter what. Jing Shao slowly smiled when he saw a tall, dark war horse among the cavalry. The jade steps had been dyed red with blood and they are gurgling down along the 9 dragons totem carved out of white marble. Jing Chen stood on the jade steps with his hands behind his back, looking at the fourth prince Jing Yu, who was being forced down into a kneeling position by the palace guards. Those who have lost all conscience by killing their own brothers and father should be sentenced to death by 1,000 cuts. Jing Shao allowed his prince consort to bandage his wounds as he glared at Jing Yu with his eyes that was red with fury. Even though the Minister of Appointments had said that the investigation to their mother's death had yet to be completed, everyone knew that she had been killed by her successor. Now, even their imperial father had been killed by this poison. It didn't take much to realize who was the figure behind this power-hungry and evil prince. Ha 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 ha, third imperial prince is as tyrannical as ever. If you kill this brother today, who knew which brother you will kill tomorrow? Perhaps he already knew that it was impossible for him to survive this, so the fourth prince abandoned all fear and laughed wildly as he tried to sow discord. Mu Hanzhong frowned. His words were a clear provocation. Jing Chen held down Jing Shao's hand that was holding the sword and said in a deep voice, "If you kill him, then you will definitely be criticized by history books for the next hundreds of years later." "Why should I be worried about that?" Jing Shao sneered. "What could history books published 100 years later have anything to do with him?" Jing Chen took the Shangfang sword from his younger brother's hand and said, "Let me do it." Blood splattered 3 jong high. The fourth prince's widened eyes were full of unwillingness that he could no longer express out loud. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The battlefield was tidied up and the jade steps were rubbed clean. The younger princes who were summoned afterwards, couldn't help but tremble when they saw this scene. Jing Shao took his prince consort and walked into Fenji Palace with a white silk cloth. The current empress sat in the main hall with disheveled hair and looked silently at her visitors. "The ascension ceremony will commence tomorrow. Has the empress thought of where she would go?" Jing Shao looked at the woman frigidly. "This empress has her own place to go." She then stood up, straightened her hair, and laughed madly. Mu Hanzhong felt the tenseness of the people around him, so he quietly held Jing Shao's hand and declared, "The empress has been found guilty of poisoning the late emperor, a heinous crime against the whole realm. As a criminal, she will be stripped of all titles." The fourth prince Jingyu was also executed and stripped of all titles as per His Majesty's decree. Since he no longer had an imperial status, his body will not be allowed to enter the imperial mausoleum. "You people are so cruel." After hearing this, the empress screamed hatefully, "Jingyu is a prince. How could you leave his corpse in the wilderness?" Jing Shao knew that his prince consort was venting anger on his behalf, so he put his arms around his waist and said, "This imperial prince does not wish to waste my breath on you. Hurry up and get on your way. We have still had to go home for dinner." The empress held the white silk in her hand and laughed crazily, "I can at least die with dignity, unlike your mother who died such an unsightly death." Ha 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 ha. Jing Shao walked over step by step and grabbed the white silk from her. He then strangled the empress' neck with lightning speed. As he slowly tightened the cloth around her neck, he whispered to her, "Imperial brother has already issued an imperial decree. The Count of Yongchang had conspired against the imperial family, so his whole clan shall be punished up to the 9th generation." The empress' eyes widened and she stretched out his hand to scratch Jing Shao, who quickly tightened his grip until the sound of broken neck bones could be heard clearly. Jing Shao loosened his hold on the white silk and looked down at the empress, who had died an unsightly death, and said softly, "Even 10 of you would not amount to even a single speck of dust on the solace of my mother's feet." Mu Hanzhong walked over slowly and stretched out his arms to embrace Jing Shao as he gently patted his trembling back. In the 16th year of Hongzheng era, the emperor passed away and the whole empire mourned. A new emperor ascended the throne, changed the name of the era into Shen Yuan and granted amnesty to the world. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. On the day of his accession to the throne, his princess consort Xiao was appointed as empress and Prince Chen was appointed as prince of the first rank. The Wu clan of the Count of Yongchang was found guilty of rebellion and poisoning the late emperor and was executed up to its 9th generations. The Duke of Mao was found guilty of conspiracy to rebel and was stripped of all his titles. The eldest Prince Jingrong was demoted to a commoner and was exiled to Shu. He was not allowed to return to the capital for rest of his life. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the 2nd year of the Shen Yuan era, Empress Xiao became seriously ill. "It's all because of you. You caused Xiao Xi's death and now you're going after Imperial Mother as well." In the Imperial Garden, a little girl in luxurious clothes pointed at a child about 3 or 4 years old and screamed in a shrill voice. That child just stared at her with big black eyes. Without arguing back, he directly grabbed a handful of dirt and blew at it right into her face. "Ah!" The little girl screamed immediately. "Princess!" A group of palace maids rushed forward to protect her. The other child had already climbed up to a jujube tree in a few moments. Once the palace maids approached, he would aim the red jujube at their eyes and threw the fruit at them. Every single one of them hit their targets accurately. This child is really interesting. Jing Shao, who was wearing a moon-white crown prince robe, said with a smile while standing behind the rockery. When he turned his head back, however, he saw his brother's livid face and immediately stopped talking. The Empress wanted to raise Jing Chen by her side, but I didn't expect that he would be raised like this. Jing Chen's expression turned even more irate as he looked at the third prince Jing Chen, who standing on the tree showing off his might, and the princess Jing Yu, who was screaming and kicking. His facial expression contorted even more. I think this child was just temperamental, just like me when I was a child. Jing Shao walked out with a smile, jumped up to the tree and caught the child firmly in his arms. Imperial father. When Princess Jing Yu saw Jing Chen, she immediately turned pale with fright, and then she quickly kowtowed in greeting when she saw her imperial uncle Jing Shao. Meanwhile, Jing Chen, who was firmly grasped within Jing Shao's arms, was not afraid at all. He looked at Jing Shao with widened eyes as he asked, "How did you get up here? If you come with me to my residence, I will teach you." Jing Shao rubbed Jing Chen's hair. "This son of mine is naughty and mischievous, are you?" Jing Chen frowned and looked at the child within his brother's clutches. Ever since Xiao Xi's death, Empress Xiao had taken this son born from a concubine to her side, supposedly to raise him. She claimed that she was educating him, but it seemed that she only allowed him to play around and rarely disciplined him. "He's just what I wanted," Jing Shao said with a smile while holding the struggling little boy between his clutches. Jing Chen frowned and then he sighed and said, "The Marquis of Beiwei had also spoke about his youngest son yesterday. You can bring Han Zhang's younger brother into your estate and let him inherit the title of Marquis of Wenyuan from now on." In the second year of the Shen Yuan era, Prince Cheng adopted the emperor's third son as his legitimate heir. At the same time, he took the youngest son of Marquis of Beiwei into the estate of Prince Cheng/Marquis of Wenyuan and brought up the two boys together. In the third year of the Shen Yuan era, Empress Xiao passed away and the king of Huainan came to the capital bearing the grand ancestor's legacy. This frustrated Emperor Shen Yuan to no end. "Elder brother, what is written in the grand ancestor's legacy?" Jing Shao asked Ji Huaiqing, who was staying in his estate temporarily. He had always wanted to know what the grand ancestor wrote in those booklet, but his brother refused to show it to him. He had been curious for a very long time. Ji Huaiqing also have the grand ancestor's legacy in his head, so he figured that they should have similar contents. Ji Huaiqing looked at him with an ambiguous smile. "Every generation of the king of Huainan is called Ji Huaiqing, and none of us are allowed to marry before the age of 25. Do you know why?" Jing Shao shook his head blankly. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The grand ancestors told the ancestor of the king of Huainan as they were by the Huai River, "Since you are guarding Huainan, I can sleep in peace." The grand ancestor's legacy stated that the Huainan fiefdom should not be conquered by force. If the future generations wished to withdraw the Huainan vassal state, they should marry the king of Huainan as their empress. Bang! The cup in Jing Shao's hand fell to the ground and shattered. Ji Huaiqing glanced at him, then he stood up and went back inside the house. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. "Cheng Air," Gerger said, "it's time for lunch." Mu Longlin raised his little head and called to the boy who was up on the tree. "Little uncle." Jing Cheng jumped down from the short tree and hugged Mu Longlin within his arms. The two little boys fell and tumbled down the grass together. "Va Wu." The big tiger, who was taking a nap not far away, yawned. When it saw the two little people rolling into the ground, it immediately piqued its interest and ran over to them. Using its big head, it played with the two children together. "Lin Air, Cheng Air," came a warm and clear voice. The two children froze immediately and stood still. Only the big tiger didn't understand the danger that was coming, and it still jumped around and pounced on the few grass blades that tickled its nose. Mu Hanjiang looked at the young boys and one tiger who were covered in grass, and his warm expression suddenly turned cold. Gerger. Father. Wow. Jing Shao chuckled as he walked over to them. He took his prince consort into his arms and winked at the three in front of them. Jing Cheng reacted the fastest. He grabbed his little uncle and quickly ran away. Xiao Huang didn't understand what was going on, so it rubbed around its master and then it laid down and exposed its belly towards him. You always spoil them, sooner or later they will become out of control. Mu Hanjiang pushed the person behind him. Jing Shao didn't let him go. He just smiled and hugged his wife tighter. The past had become the past, and sometimes Jing Shao wonders whether the events that had happened in his previous life was just a dream that was sent to him by the grand ancestor to warn him not to be like his ancestor who had conquered the world but lost the love of his life in exchange. Jing Shao buried his nose in the neck of the person in his arms and took a deep breath as he murmured, Jun Cheng. Mu Hanjiang looked back at him. Jing Shao raised his head and kissed the handsome face with a smile. It's nothing, let's go eat. Mu Hanjiang was stunned, then slowly the corners of his lips curved as he replied, all right. The peach blossoms were blooming again. As the spring breeze blew, the pink petals circled quietly, reflecting scene of the couple standing in each other's embrace. End chapter.